Hey, what is up guys, welcome to this game's tutorial. Today is quite a big episode, how to save on the Google Play services. But we managed to do it, we pretty much just saved, we changed a few things. We don't have the swap save anymore, I know the icon is still there, but we're gonna get rid of it really soon. What we do now is we always assume that the player is on the cloud, and if he's not, then we fall back on the local save and on the load local. So that's what we're going to be doing today, guys. We're using code that was pretty much somewhere hidden inside of the plugin that they give us, and we're going to make it work. So hope you guys enjoy, and without further ado, let's get started. Alright guys, so let's start with the easy part. Let's head over to the Google Play Developer Console, where we are going to turn on the save for our game. So over here I've got my package called the Tower. I've got version 1.0 here, and I am going to head over to the game services. Now we have a game service for our game, so the Tower here again, and if we just scroll down over here, we have the SavedGame. Now right now mine is on because I've tested it out before making the video, so just make sure yours is on, and then click on save, and we've already did the good first step. So now let's see how we're gonna do this. Like I said, this was really complicated just to find information on it, so a lot of code that I have is pretty much from the example that they give out with the Google Play plugin. So they ship the plugin, and then they have some example in there, and I went ahead and I looked through those, and I managed to just fetch some code. So that's what we're gonna be doing pretty much all episode. There's about like 100 lines, so it's something. It's not small actually. Alright, so before we address that though, we have this thing over here. So we have our pop-up manager just acting a little bit weird because it's not really assuming the same size, and that bothers me quite a lot. So I want to go fix that today, since we're going to be putting a lot of those pop-up manager. Let's go ahead and just open up this script really quickly. We have to type in 3 lines, and let me just close that version of ModeDevelop I have here. Let's boot it up again. And here we have it. So the whole show pop-up function needs to change just a little bit, and that's because the scaling is wrong. So we're just gonna force a decent scaling on this thing. Not decent, we're just gonna force the original scaling. And the way we do this is we're gonna start by just coming up here on the transform.setParent. Now setParent takes your actual transforms, it puts it under another transform as a children, but it also moves it in the code. Now setParent has this very nice overload that says bool world position on stay, and we're just gonna toggle that. Let's just make sure that this is true. So comma and then true. So we send in this new parameter, and we're also going to do something else. So we're also going to, down there around here, we're gonna do canvas group. Oops. Or we could do transform actually. Let's do rect transform dot size delta. Oh, this is the actual type. Okay, let's do a get component. Sorry about that. Get component rect transform size delta is equal to vector 2, not vector 3, vector 2 dot 0, or is it 0? Yeah, it is 0. And then just after that we'll do a anchored position is equal to 0 as well. So get component rect transform, you could save it in a temporary field, but I don't really care. Anchored position is equal to vector 2 dot 0 once more, and then finally let's just make sure that the scale is alright. So I'll do a transform dot local scale is equal to vector 3 dot 1. Now this way the scaling should be good, and we can go back to making this really painful save function. Let's just make sure. Yeah, so it makes a little bit more sense now. Alright, so we are going to start by going inside of the Tower script, so our big script. And inside of here we are going to include a new namespace. We've got a lot of code in here. At the very top where it says using Google Play Games, we are now using Google Play Games.basic API SavedGame. And it is quite not a hard one to use, it's just really complicated because there's no like documentation anywhere as of today. But we're gonna create some, so let's go ahead and in our start we're gonna need to define new things in here. So Let me just quickly show you what we are going to do. We're going to do a Google Play Game basic API play games configuration config. This is a field. This is a type actually. So this is the type of our field, and the name is going to be config. This is equal to a new, whatever this is. I just press tab so it auto completes, and then we're going to do dot builder. This is a function. Dot enable saved games. Again, this is a function, and finally dot build. And that's pretty much what config is equal to. And just beneath that, we can do a play games platform. Oops, play games platform dot initialize instance, and we're gonna initialize it using the config we just created. Good times. All right, so these are pretty much the initial thing that we had to do. Now, a few things are going to change in here. So instance, that's fine. You don't destroy null, that's also fine. I would like to create my arrays here. So create all my arrays. And the reason I will do that, and you'll see what I'm talking about in a moment, is because there might be chances we're not able to load on that very start function, but we still need arrays for our code to run. And I'm just gonna go ahead and just do it right now. We're gonna go down to the, what was it? Was load data, load from string. Okay, load from string over here. This function. We had all of these calls. This is where we create our array. Now we're gonna take all of that, hit Control X, so we cut, and let's go back up to our start. This is where we are now going to create our arrays. We're also going to create a tower mesh. However, the whole load local and the rescale tower, that's going to be gone. We don't need to create it here anymore. Now, as for this is obviously going to go away as soon as we have as we're done testing. So this is of course debug stuff. Remove me soon. Now what else? We just keep going. Everything seems to be cool, and yeah, so that is our new start. So basically we just remove the load function from it, and we also move the array creation thing. Alright, so let's tackle now all the big function that I've pretty much grabbed from the example they give us in the plugin. We're gonna head over to the load cloud. And for load cloud, well, first, on top of all my function, you know how we just placed that over here? On top of all of them, I'm actually going to create a bool. So private bool is saving. That is going to equal false by default, but of course we're going to be setting it as our saving flow goes. So save cloud, let's start with save cloud, this one. Inside of save cloud, we're going to start by checking, are we authenticated right now? If social, local user authenticated. If we are, we do this, and if we're not, we do that. So if else. Oops. Alright, so if we're trying to save and we are connected, we're going to say is saving is equal to true. We're also going to toggle another field that I have not created just yet. So let me just go up here. Another boolean. So private bool and has been warned local say. That's a really bad name. But basically it's going to just pop up once. I'm going to give a warning to the player if he's saving locally, and I only want to give him a pop-up once, so I don't want to like spam him with that. If he's out of town and he doesn't have Wi-Fi or internet, I don't need to constantly remind him that he doesn't have Wi-Fi or internet. I just need to save locally until he does. And this is what this is for basically. And notice that I also put my field over here and not at the very top of the script, and I guess that's because it's getting really messy and I just want this to be all in a single chunk. I hope you guys forgive me for that. It's a little bit not conventional, I guess. So has been warned local save is equal to false, and then I will do, and this is the big line of code that really messed up a lot of things, play games platform and social.active. So we cast this as a play games platform. Social.active is now a play games platform. Then we do a saved game open with automatic conflict resolution. and this is where we gotta give it a file name. So what's the actual name of your save? Your save is actually going to have a string as a name, and I'm still in the same function. I just moved lines so I can actually see what's going on here. Mine is going to be the tower save. The second parameter of this is the data source. Now the data source in our case is going to be Google Play Games Basic API data source, read cache or network. And finally, the conflict resolution strategy is going to be use the latest one, use the longest playtime actually. And the last one is a callback. So over here we're going to do save game open, but it is not created yet. We're about to do that in a moment. Alright, let's try to format this a little bit better. So I'm going to put this parentheses over here, just indent that, and finally semicolon. Alright, this makes a little bit more sense, and like I said, the save game open callback, we're going to create it in a moment. But let's start by going in the else statement. So in the else statement, we're gonna start by checking, have you ever been warned that you're saving locally? So has been warned local save is equal to false. If that is the case, let's do a pop-up manager.instance show pop-up, and we're showing something like cloud error, unable to reach the cloud, saving locally, something of the sort. Hopefully the user is going to understand what that means. If he doesn't, then it's only going to appear once, I guess. Alright, and then has been warned is equal to true because it did happen. And say we have been warned in the past, and then we go back to saving in the game in the same game session, we go back to saving on the cloud, then it's gonna turn back on. So has been warned local save is now equal to false over here, and then it's going to pop again if we just leave the Wi-Fi once more, which makes sense in my head. Alright, and yeah, like I said, if that's the case, we can do a save local. We still want to save because we always want to save no matter what, so if we're not on Google Play right now, let's just save locally using the function we've made, I think it was like 2 episodes ago, or last episode actually. Alright, so that's our save cloud. Let's head over to the load cloud before we start tackling the callback that I've just talked about. So load cloud is a little bit easier. In fact, it's a lot easier. All we're gonna say is is saving is equal to false because we're not saving anymore. And then we use the exact same call we had over here. Where is it at? This thing. So we use the same call. So play games platform, social active, saved game, open automatic. We're opening this again. So we're basically just doing the same exact thing. We're opening our save game. Our save game has the tower name in there. That's fine. Same data type, data source actually. Use longest playtime. And it's the same actual callback. So it's pretty much the same thing. However, over here his saving is false, and over here his saving is true. Alright, let's actually tackle those callbacks because that's where most of the magic happens. I am going to be putting them right in between here. Somewhere around there at least. And also, something I like to do is I'll turn everything into a public function. Oops. What have I done? My bad. I'm going to turn all of these into public function. So this one is public. Oops. Can't type today. Public, 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 and funny public. And we're gonna keep writing public function because good times. Public void saved game open. That's the first callback we need to use. Is it the exact same callback? Yeah, it's this one actually, the save game open. And yeah, I made a mistake in here. It's actually saved with ed. Let's just make sure we replace that in both load cloud and save cloud. Alright, now the function we need to shoot in that callback is a function that has an action save game request status and a high save game metadata callback. So over here in the parameter of our new function, we're going to take in a save game, a saved game request, can't type, request status that we're going to call status, and a I saved game metadata that we'll call game. We open up the curly brace and we start coding what's in there. So if we did manage to, if we're successful to actually open our game, or I mean our save game, so if status, not select UI, if status, I said status, okay, if status is equal to saved game request status success, if that's the case, then we go ahead and we just check, did we try to save or did we try to load? Okay, so let's assume that we did not manage to actually open up this thing, this save, which should actually never happen, and the reason is, if we are not authenticated on Google Play, if we're not connected, this code doesn't even run in the first place. So it's an error on our side, so pop-up manager, that instance, and we're just gonna tell ourselves that we're kind of stupid. So let's go ahead and say, this is, the title is going to be save state. Doesn't really matter, nobody should actually see this technically. And we're gonna say error opening game. And we can also send the status because why not? So plus status. Okay, now so that we do actually manage to open up the save, which is something that should happen. If we're actually trying to write data, so if is saving, we do this, and if we're not trying to write data, that means we're trying to load. Let's do that, as simple as this. And okay, so let's start with the else statement. So assume that we're trying to loading data, or reading would be better in that case. Then we are going to say, we're going to start by casting our social active into a play games platform. Social.active. Then we call the saved game read binary data game, and the callback is going to be saved game loaded. Now again, this is not created just yet, we're going to create it in a moment, but that's pretty much the only line we needed in the reading data for now. Now let's go to the saving data, writing data. There's probably 2T to that, or not. Anyway, if we're actually trying to save, then we need to create a byte array out of a our save string. So we're going to say byte array data is equal to system.text ASCII encoding ASCII get bytes, and we're getting the bytes of the save string. So get save string like this, and we now actually have our old data, like everything that is our game in terms of save data is now stored inside of that byte array. Good times. Let's actually keep track of the time. So time span is equal to time span played time is equal to time span from seconds and total playtime. That's going to be our timestamp for our game. Now saved game metadata update dot builder is equal to a new, then I'm going to hit tab. Builder is a function with updated playtime, and that's a function as well, so we're gonna send in the playtime, then with updated description in case you want to give a description to your save file. I'm going to give one to mine because that's what they do in the example, and I just thought, why not? Okay, so saved game, it's an actual string, so save game at, and then we do datetime.now. Alright, so that's the meta that, well, I mean, that's both data we need. That's the actual thing from our game, and that's the actual additional information that is just going to merge together with our save file, and then we can push it. So we do have the information we need. We're going to do a saved game metadata update is equal to builder.build, and now we have our updated save structure. We can finally push it, and we push it doing the play games platform. Oops, play games platform social.active, and we do that save game commit update, and we send in game, we send in update, and we send in data. Finally, we also send in the callback, so that's going to be called whenever our game has been written on, so some kind of callback you get after overwriting your save game. This is going to be the save game written and I'm pretty much just using the same exact function name that they use in the example. Alright, so that was our first and our biggest callback we had to do. Let's actually just collapse it. Head over to the next line where we're going to do the second callback. And the second one is going to be saved game load. So whenever our game actually loads up data, we're going to do a saved game loaded. It takes in parameter this exact same thing, so it gives you a status, and it also gives you, this time it's not a I saved game metadata, it's actually giving you a byte array. So this is what you've been able to fetch from Google Play. And all we gotta be doing really is just to read that and put it back into a string, then we do our load from string function. So let's assume everything went fine. If status is equal to saved game request status success, if it's a success, then we go ahead and we do a load from string system.text ASCII encoding, ASCII again, get string this time, not get bytes, get string, and we just send in our data. And that's pretty much all we need. Now if this fails, then I really don't know how this would happen, how this would fail in the first place. But of course we could do a else statement here and just say, we could do a debug.log, or we could do a pop-up manager. I'll just do a debug.log because I really don't think this will ever happen. So error reading game plus status. Alright, good times. That was the save game loaded callback. Next we go to the next one, the final one, which we don't really need it, but in case we want to do something after saving, this is where you would do it actually. So this is the save game written. Takes in parameter these two parameters actually, and I'm tired of just saying the whole name, so I'll just point out to them, overwrite whatever this is. Nice. And as for the code that goes in here, of course it's just if you just check if it's like good or bad. I'll just do a debug.log and status, so tell me if it worked or not. Good times. And that's pretty much it for what goes in here. Well, of course we're gonna be changing a few things around, so the whole reload save data is now load cloud, and there won't be any more save local or load local done from the code. This is, well, from anywhere else in the code. If we have to do a save local or a load local, we'll do it from either save cloud or load cloud. So we're constantly going to try and save on the cloud, and if it doesn't work, then we're gonna fall back on the local. So it's really just a fallback thing now. Alright, so we've got all of this. Good times. I feel like we do miss something. Oh yeah, we're gonna be changing a little bit of the authentication flow. But first, let's just boot the game, see if we haven't broken anything. Doesn't seem like it over here. And if I press play, this kind of sucks because it has not loaded my game and it has not rescaled the tower. So if I go here, it says enabled connect. That's totally normal. We should not be able to actually see any Google Play Services progress on here because I'm not using an actual device. So we're gonna boot the webcam really soon, but not right now. Now what I like to do is actually go over to my load from string, and we're gonna be changing a few things in here. The first one is if we have a empty string, we're gonna do more than just return. So open up the curly brace in here, we're gonna do return of course, but we're also going to take this chunk of code here, so the for loop, and we're gonna put it in there. This way, the first time we boot the game, we're gonna have all level 1s instead of having all level 0s. And finally, at the end of load from string, we are going to do a Rescale Tower. We used to do it in the start, but now we're going to do it whenever we load. So let's have a look at the game now, see if we at least scale the tower. We don't, so there's definitely something going... Well, no, actually that's quite normal because we don't have any load function anywhere. And it was around here before, but then I changed it because I don't want to be loading right away when I start the game. In case we do have a Google Play Services save, I want to grab that one, then load it. I don't want necessarily fall on the local one right away. So what we're gonna do is head over to the menu manager, and a lot of things is going to happen in there. Well, not really, but we're gonna be changing the flow over here of the authentication. So let's go over here, and if the social user is not authenticated, then we go ahead and we try to just authenticate him. And let's just say that it does work. So if success is true, then we're going to say the tower.instance load from cloud, which is now public. That's why we can access it. And say that we were not able to actually authenticate and we're not connected right now, we're going to say pop-up manager.instance show pop-up, and we're going to say cloud saving. So cloud saving, that's the title of our thing, or cloud error. And we're going to say something like unable to connect to the cloud, loading latest game session, which is something we do locally. The next one is going to be the actual load, so the tower.instance load local, and this is pretty much just our fallback. And that's pretty much it for the menu. Yeah, cool, that's all we need. Now let's actually save somewhere else. Alright, and finally what I'd like to do is also add a new save point in the game. So over here on our hub manager, in the start, I'm going to add a simple the tower.instance save cloud. So whenever we go back to the hub manager, the actual hub scene, we're just gonna make sure we save. As simple as that. Now let's try it out over here, and this should all be local. There's no Google Play Services save in here, and we should not be getting any bugs either. As you could tell for like a second, I don't know if you could, whenever we boot the game, and that's because I keep clicking on it by error, we had this pop-up manager over here, this thing, if I can get it to work. Keep missing, my bad. Okay, so basically it says cloud error, we're not able to load the save, and that's totally normal because we're on the computer and we don't have access to that. We don't have access to the game session from on Google Play. So that's normal, that's good. No, so we pretty much know that we're on the local thing. We're on the actual local save. And now when we enter the hub manager, we try to save locally as well. I mean, we try to save to the cloud, which leads us to this error that says unable to reach the cloud, saving locally. So we know it's saved, and yeah. Now if we go back here, we go back to our scene, exit, it doesn't tell us, but we're still saving locally right now. And let's just make sure that our save actually works. We could do that, yeah. So I'm going to boost my range by quite a lot. And whenever I quit the game, it should actually try to save on the cloud. Go back here, and it did. As you can tell, we got the tower being as well, it didn't save from the cloud, but it did do the whole save function, and then it realized that it can't save on the cloud as it says over here, so it just loaded locally. And I think there's like a little flaw in my logic here, and it would have to do with, say that we are actually synced with the cloud and we're able to save there. We should also save locally. That would only make sense. Not load locally, but at least save. So let's do that. We're gonna go back inside of our tower script, and where do we go? We're gonna go over to the save cloud, and we're gonna take the save local, just put it after that, or just put it here. So we're always saving locally in case we need to fetch that save later on. And I think that's going to be pretty much it. We can actually test this out now. I am going to plug in my webcam and my phone, and I will be back to you guys in a moment. Alright, so here we go. We've got our game over here, and oh, as you could tell for a second, it was a 1x1 cube, and then eventually it loaded the save file from the Google Play Services, and it just scaled up, so it rescaled the whole actual tower. Now, of course, this caused a bug inside of our game, inside of our menu, but we can go ahead and fix that later. At least we know that it managed to actually load something, which is quite cool. So we pretty much managed to do our save game on the cloud and load it from the cloud. And while I was doing this, while I was researching this topic, I also figured out that we are going to wipe the swap save. We don't need it anymore because we're just going to be always assuming we're on the cloud, and if we actually need to fall back on the local, then we just go ahead and do it. We don't even have to ask our user. We're going to save him that pain, and we're simply going to do it. But send him a message, only one message that tells him, well, you're not connected anymore. And yeah, so that's going to be pretty much it, guys. I hope you enjoy. I know there's a few bugs we just introduced here and there, but they're all going to be patched pretty much at the same exact time whenever we're done with that whole menu. So yeah, like I said, I hope you enjoy. I hope you like. If you did, please leave me a like. Really appreciate that. This one was really a pain to do. I'm going to be honest. It was a pain to actually look for that information. And if you have any comment though, please leave them in the comment section below, and I'll try to answer them as soon as possible. Other than that, please, I'd like you to subscribe for more tutorials like these, and keep growing the channel. Good times. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next one.